not some random person who decided, I'm going to act as though I'm some authority on these subject matters. Check my track record, and a lot of you can't check my track record because you ain't nobody. You don't know nobody. You can't make a call. If anybody says they are somebody somewhere on this planet and they're supposed to be revered and respected, I can make a call. I can verify you. Believe that. See, this is the thing that people don't understand about gangsterism. Gangsterism is a moral paradox, right? So people think that for a person to be involved in gangsterism is any different than a person involved in imperialism or colonialism. It's not. You know, banksterism. It's not. When you work with other people, with your group, to profit off the pain and suffering of other people's ignorance and weakness, and you have no regard, you operate with impunity. You have no regard for the potential consequences and the impact. That is the essence of gangsterism. At the same time, you're motivated and driven by the same thing everybody else is, that get up and go out and go to work every day. You're just more motivated. You want to take care of your children. You want to take care of yourself. You want to provide yourself with the best possible life you can have in this life, and you're willing to do whatever is necessary to do that. You love your family. You love those you take as family, and you're willing to kill or die for those people. And a lot of people think that to be a gangster, you have to be this evil, greedy, narcissistic, psychotic. Those are aspects of it, but that's not the totality of it. They think that you have to be ignorant and dragging your knuckles and drooling. Some of the most intelligent, naturally gifted intellects you've ever gonna come across are gonna be gangsters, bro. I've been on this planet almost 5 decades, man. I was born in gangsterism. My mother was a gangster. My father was a gangster. Everybody in my home was a gangster. An actual gangster. That's with an ER, not the A. No rap shit. Rap didn't even exist when I was growing up. So I understand and was raised to understand the potential severity of even the smallest situation where you introduce a gun and fear. I knew a lot of people who were gangsters. They weren't hustlers. I know a lot of people who were hustlers. They were not gangsters. But there's a lot of people from the time I was come from or hail from, and the place I hail from, Harlem. I was born in the 60s in Harlem. That is the epicenter of that lifestyle. Period. That's where it started. Just because you live here don't mean you know what's going on here. Yeah. That's the thing that has screwed up so many kids' lives. One, they think because of that unfortunate outcome, that circumstance, that they're supposed to behave that way. They think, right? They believe that because they are in that environment, that they've somehow got some innate genetic predisposition for the behaviors necessary to flourish, to even survive in those circumstances. And they don't. Most of them are suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. Most of them are dealing with psychological and emotional issues, man. Most of them. That's where the behaviors come from. That's where the violence comes from. It's not because they're tough or they mean, or they're cold-blooded. It's because they're dealing with serious issues. And I've had to correct many of them to put it in perspective. You are not me just because you come from where I come from. That's the reason that there are certain of us who can move in that environment and roll over everybody else. Why is that? You from this hood, I'm from this hood, everybody else from this hood. How come I'm the one that's stomping? How come it's just me? How come you're only doing what I'm letting you do? How come I can come out here and say, you can't be out here no more, and you can't be out there no more? If you're from here, you're supposed to be exactly like me, right? Because you're from here, right? Your address makes you like me, right? Wrong.
Cavario H, co-founder, DIVA magazine, senior editor, Hip Hop Weekly magazine, 5 books under his belt, ending with Old Gangsters, Young Guns. A man who has walked with the Hip Hop Foundation from Grandmaster Flash to KRS-One, from Public Enemy to Tupac to Biggie to DMX, Jay-Z, D-Block, Kanye West, to name a few. All the hood gangsters we grew up knowing about. Frank Lucas, Nicky Barnes, Larry Davis, Alpo, Big Meech, Pistol Pete are these people. There was a time when a man had to be verified by somebody who was qualified in order to be certified. He's from that time.
You got that magic powder, everybody wants to be your friend. Everybody wants to be around you.
So we understand what you're saying. What you're telling us is that you had what all the big boys wanted.
Yes, sir.
So all the people that was running the game in our eyes over here, you were serving them up what they needed.
Yeah, I was serving cats back in Disco Fever, back in the Garage, back in T-Connection. People that know, they'll know what I'm talking about. Galaxy, like that was my move. I moved around in the clubs, you know, pop bottles. Before popping bottles was something people talked about.
Yeah.
Was, you know, balling before normal people knew what balling was. Regular people had no idea what balling was, bro. Yeah. Like, they just really started hearing about that maybe, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago. The term balling became something that was commonly used. Yeah. And most people, like everything else, they stylize it, they trend it. So they think that balling is something you can do, like, you know, a cat would be like, I was balling last night. No, you were overextending yourself last night. You're going to be spending the next month making up for it. Balling is a lifestyle. You do it day, night, you live it, you sleep it, you eat it. It's your life, period. It's a life of excess and no rest. That's what balling is. It's not something you can do for a night. Stop saying you was balling last night. You were not balling last night. You sound silly.
DARDEST TV back out here in association with Block 5 Entertainment, and we got a gentleman that come all the way from America. He's on a promoting his book calls at the moment and letting us know what's real over there. Okay, what's good over there? Everything good?
Yeah, man, you know, it is what it is. I mean, good is relevant, you know what I mean? It's relative.
On that note, let's get into you. You told us that you grew up, your mother was gangster. Tell us just
my mother was a gangster.
Just tell us how much she was a gangster,
yeah, she was
and
a gangster.
What that was like for you growing up.
Hard.
That.
It was hard.
What was you seeing?
Things that I shouldn't have been seeing. Violence, murder. You know, my mother killed her husband. He killed untold men. My sister killed my mother's youngest brother. And no, they didn't go to jail. They didn't go to jail. I'm seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars being counted every day. I'm seeing big shopping bags full of dope bags that were called quarters back then. Right? There were 9.5 spoons of quinine and bonita, mixed heroin that they call scramble. 500 quarters going out. $50 a quarter. You do the math. Right? This is my everyday. I was told, watch, listen, be quiet all the time. So I was a kid in the daytime and a gangster in training in the nighttime. I wasn't made to not see, don't look, go in the room. Nah. Sit right here. Sit your ass right here. Pay attention while a meeting is conducted. I'm in after-hour spots at 9 and 10 years old, and there's nothing in there but grown-ass, dangerous-ass people. People who would kill me for sitting on their Cadillac if I wasn't who I was.
Yeah.
It was a very tumultuous time, bro. Very, very dangerous time. Murder was, like, people think or act as though it is because of the exposure of hip-hop. Hip-hop has brought to the forefront something that was always common in my life. Murder and violence and excess and outrageous behavior. My people would walk into places, man, and lock the damn place down. You in there drinking, all of a sudden motherfuckers say you can't leave. You got to sit here until they finish drinking.
So nobody does not with your young eyes, how much murder did you witness yourself? How many people did you see die in front of you? And what did that do to you?
Desensitized me.
So if I was to ask you, from somebody who's seen so much from a young age, who's gone through so much, met so many people and known them that are about that life, if I asked you what sort of man you are today, you tell me, what sort of man are you today after witnessing what your life has showed you?
Evolved. Exponentially evolved.
And what does it make you feel when you hear people talking what they ain't really been after you being it?
Honestly, man, I don't want to use a word like anger because that's a strong word, but it does piss me off because they're either not aware or do not care about the far-reaching ramifications of that casual, savoir-faire attitude about something that may look like salvation to someone else, someone who's looking for their identity, which is a big, big thing with the youth now. Because, see, there was a time when I was growing up, and I grew up with everything at Kick One. Right, so I was the kid that had all the stuff, all the nice things, and nice clothes, and the toys, and But if you weren't in my neighborhood, then you weren't exposed to what it was you were missing.
Yeah.
Your friends were poor, you were poor, everybody had holes in their sneakers, and you went about your business, were able to have fun. And there wasn't a form of music that was telling you that because you don't have these things, you ain't shit. It wasn't anything attacking your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth, right? And as our lifestyle, and we never thought about this. We never thought that regular people would ever think they would want to be a part of this lifestyle, like really want to be a part of this lifestyle. People get in desperate situations, and they might entertain taking a chance, of some kind or whatever. You have to be somebody that people really had some kind of regard for them to even give a non-combatant, a civilian, the opportunity to jump in, because it's not weekend warrior shit. You know, you can't come and hustle with me for a few days and make you a couple of dollars, and because in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So you come to hustle with me for a few days, and then the things I've been doing just happen during the few days you're involved, culminate to a situation and a bust, and now
there's no going back.
You're in it up to here, and you ain't got nothing out of it.
Yeah.
So are you inclined to take what I'm getting? You're not inclined to share my punishment. You're gonna be like, well, hold on a second now, wait a minute. This is why I never did this shit before. Hold on a second. I want to do over. Can I go home? I'll tell you everything you want to know. So we stayed away from allowing those kind of people to come into the space.
So you tell us, being as a man who's had them things, seen them things, we all know that there's no ups without downs. Tell us some of the worst things you've gone through in your life. Some of the things where people stuck it on you, things you saw happen to others.
Man, please.
We want to know something to make the young youths know, listen, just what you said, when you're in for a penny, you're in for the pound.
Man. So, I mean, that's why I had to write the book. That's why I had to write Raised by Wolves, because I had to get that out. So many wonderfully gifted, intelligent, infinitely talented, infinite potential having young people threw away their lives chasing some immediate gratification for the sake of inclusion, because they thought they were missing something, right? I had so many friends that I said, look, this ain't for you. This is not for you. You know, this is not something you need to do, because I understood what it took. Because I had the benefit of those who had come before me. See, so by the time I started hustling, you know, I'm 13 years old, but I'd already forgotten more about the life than most people would have the time or opportunity to learn before their time was up and their opportunities were no more. I didn't have to go through everything. I had already been given the benefit of that. So a lot of the things they would have to learn firsthand that you weren't likely to survive, I already knew better then, because I was raised by these staunch disciplinarians who said, you will do this, and you will do it this way, or you will pay a price. Here, not out on the street, in this household. You know what I mean? I was never allowed to think that it was like my personal vehicle for self-realization. My mother told me this is your business and not show business. That this is our religion and we serve it, and we will maintain it for those who will follow us as it was maintained by those who preceded us. You will never be the man. The money is the man. You follow that. So I was never allowed to develop the idea that, you know, shit, I made $1,000 a day. I'm the shit. Tomorrow I'm gonna make 2. Next week I'm gonna make 10. I was never allowed to think that any amount of money made me something special. It was what I was supposed to do. And I was supposed to maintain the thing. That was my main priority, maintain the thing. I knew the severity and the seriousness of it. And I knew that when kids came from normal households, they had no clue about that. And in the field is not the time to learn how to use your weapon, how to load and cock it. There's no time for that. Here, you got to know that before you get out here. And you don't. So you're not going to make it, because you're going to come across somebody like me and you're not going to make it. They're not going to play with you. They're not going to say, oh, I'm going to give you consideration because you square, you green. No.
If I'm a young boy getting into that world, what can I learn from your book before I take the wrong steps?
What can you learn? You can learn that it's way more to it than what meets the eye. I gave people in my first book, my autobiography, Raised by Wolves, Inside the Life and Mind of a Guerrilla Hustler, a phrase I coined, guerrilla hustler. I had to use guerrilla hustler because I wanted people to understand this is not rap at all. You got to understand that most people won't be able to put the types of content that I put into my works into context, except as it relates to rap. They'll have no other point of reference. You say anything about hustling or selling drugs or getting money or putting in work, and the first thing that comes to their mind is a rapper. Because what else they gonna think of? What other image is gonna come to their mind? They're gonna think NWA. They're gonna think, I don't know, DMX.
So why do you think that we are thinking like that? What has made us all think that it's all to do with rappers?
Because of the popularization of that lifestyle through their medium, their storytelling. Kool G Rap was the first one to put our stories into that context. He was the first person to really tell detailed stories about that lifestyle.
Yeah.
About how a cat would take over a neighborhood in a rap, in a song. How a cat took over a neighborhood. How a cat robbed everybody, extorted everybody. He was the first to put that into context, and people were so enamored with that because people love a good story.
Over here, we don't really know the foundation of how it all went down. Being as a man who's come through it all, we want you to tell us what your connection was with certain people that over here in our eyes started the game. You got people like Grandmaster Flash, then it goes on, you got people like Run DMC, you got people like KRS-One, you got the Slick Ricks, then it goes on to the next generation, you got the Nases, you got the Core Megas, you got the DMXs. We want to know what your connection with these cats was and where you saw them going.
Yeah, I know them all. I know every one of them.
Yeah?
Everybody you just named right there.
And obviously that ain't the whole list, because you also got your Eric Sermons, all these people that done things on their own in groups, and we all know them over here as the founders of what was going down. Tell us what the truth is on that.
I would say, as far as the culture itself, the genre itself.
Yeah.
Kool Herc. Then you got Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you have Grandmaster Caz. And then all these other people start to say those are like the three main branches.
Yeah.
The main tree would have to be Herc.
Yeah.
Right? And then, these main branches would be Flash and Caz, because Flash did something with the art of DJing that hadn't been done before. So, Herc creates this sync between these two different turntables playing the same song, looping a beat. And then Flash incorporates this effect, this scratching that just made the music do something. We used to have this thing where we had this echo chamber thing, and when you heard that scratch come through that echo, man, it reverberated through you, man. Everything is frequency, everything is vibrational, everything is frequency. And when that thing hit you, man, it made you do things on that dance floor, bro. Or it made you do things on that microphone that it was like there was a seance or something, and some spirit was brought through you or something, Cocaine fueled disco, right? So for people to be taken seriously during that time, you had to party, you had to get down. Yeah. If you didn't get down, a lot was happening behind those scenes that if you weren't getting down, you'd have no clue about. You wouldn't be included.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be included. So I saw a lot of people get caught up. You know what I mean? Russell Simmons, Rush used to go back then. Shit, man, Rush, boy, that boy put it down. Disco Fever back in the days, put it down. You had a back room back there.
You say Mr. Def Jam himself.
Yeah, man, Russ, that's my man. Russ don't pull no punches though. Russ pull no punches. Russ will smoke some Zubang, some wet. You know what I mean? Go get some Red Bull or something. Russ be dusted and going. Like he's one of those people who could handle it. He's one of those people who could smoke dust and function. I know Frank. I'm from 115th Street. I'm from 115th Street. My family ran 14th Street, 15th Street, 16th Street. So Frank he had Blue Magic on 16th Street. You know, so I've known Frank a long time. Yeah, Frank is a piece of work. I mean, the movie don't even begin to touch it. He's a piece of work. Yeah. The movie was a work of collective fiction and legend and you know, a hodgepodge of other characters. His character, as Denzel played him, was more like Nicky Barnes mixed with Bumpy Johnson.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Nicky was more... The way that Cuba Gooding portrayed Nicky, that was not how Nicky was. My mother was married to a man named Black June, who was a notorious, super dangerous, bad man.
Yeah.
You know, stone cold killer. And him and Nicky were like this. That was his man. I'd been around Nicky as a child from time to time. He used to come to our house in the Bronx, whatever. Nicky was not a gregarious character, my nigga. All that behavior that was portrayed in American Gangster as the character was portrayed by Cuba Gooding, like that wasn't. He was a seriously dangerous, serious, cold, hardcore motherfucker, man. He wasn't nobody to be playing around with.
Yeah.
At all. So no rapper was gonna be rapping about him.
No.
You know what I mean? That wasn't gonna happen. Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Godfather 3. You know, Miller's Crossing, Once Upon a Time in America, Casino, Scarface, fucked everybody, by the way. That turned a bunch of motherfuckers out. A bunch of people that would never have gone that route, saw Scarface, thought that made sense. Yeah, I'm gonna follow a psychotic fucking junkie. I'm gonna follow his example because it ended so well for him. Because I believe that I'm a loser. And I believe that since I'm gonna lose anyway, I might as well lose in a big way. That had to be the thinking. For you to watch Scarface and think you want to be a drug dealer because Scarface, because of a character, for that to be your motivation, you have got it fucked up. The majority of the portrayals that you see in the most of the films that have been put out as it relates to, you know, the urban community and gangsters in the urban community, it's not real. It's not accurate. Was Blue Magic the best-selling heroin in the history of Harlem? Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, did he sell it on 116th Street and all over the place? Yeah. Did he bring it over from cross over in the Golden Triangle? No, that was Leslie Ike Atkinson, Sergeant Smack. Look him up. Get the book.
Okay, let's talk about something else regards a lot of the films that get made and a lot of the way they portray the black gangsters from the older days. They always seem to end up as some kind of snitch. Like, is that true?
Interesting.
Because in the videos, what we watch, when they talk about him in the papers, they always seem to be the baddest man, and then they always end up snitching. Now, what's the truth on that regards to the old school gangsters? Did they all end up being snitches?
Nope. Leslie Ike Atkinson did 28 years in prison thanks to Frank Lucas, who was married to his cousin. By the time he had met him, they had already been divorced, but he didn't tell. He ended up doing dead bit 30 years.
Yeah.
He came out of prison and, you know, watching another man get rich off of telling his story, essentially.
What about the Larry Davises and that of the day?
Larry Larry died in prison.
Yeah, but he was supposed to have talked on things from what we was told over here. Documentaries come out. Like, that's another thing we want to ask you. We can't believe
I knew
when
Larry used to work for me.
Yeah.
Larry didn't tell
when these things are made
mainstream,
we don't believe because it's TV made and we're not believing that. But what about when things are made as documentaries by black people from the hood? Do we believe those?
Well,
do we believe the iPod story? Do we believe the story of Larry Davis that was a documentary?
Well, check this. Those documentaries were made by a friend of mine. And those documentaries were facts.
Yeah.
They were a matter of public record.
Yeah.
You know, the word research is too foreign to people. You don't look at a single source of information and take what it has given you as the gospel.
Yeah.
Because if you don't personally know the people who produced it or who put forth through whatever medium they put it forth, that particular piece of information, if you don't know them, then how do you know they know what they're talking about? This might be what they genuinely believe, it's just wrong. You know? Now, as far as the documentary on Larry Davis, those were facts. Those were facts. And there's a lot of shit in there that wasn't, there's a lot of shit that happened that wasn't put in there. A lot of shit that he was doing and that wasn't put in there. You know? He was a lot more vicious than that documentary put forth.
Yeah.
For real. And as far as Alpo is concerned, Alpo, out of his own mouth, said what he did.
Yeah.
Out of his own mouth. And he did it.
Tell us where we are going wrong in the fact that, like you've just said, we will watch all these films based on gangsters and in every one of them the gangster dies, and yet we still want to be that gangster. How does the mind go to that?
Because people believe that they're going to lose, especially in my community, bro. People believe they're going to lose anyway. They think they're going to lose anyway. What they don't want to do, I guess, is lose and be obscure too at the end of it all. If you figure that my life is hopeless, worthless, valueless, pointless, futureless, then why would I make decisions based on a value that I do not have?
So basically it's better to go out with a bang than not be known at all.
That's right. You know, so, you know, the only way that that's going to change is for cats to be given a different narrative. You can still talk about the things that are going on, but talk about it from a realistic perspective. First and foremost, stop acting as though rappers, stop acting like it's you. And even you rappers, and I know you know who you are, and you know I know who you are. The ones that never did anything, never sold no drugs, never had no package, nothing. Get a rap deal, get a rap check, and then go buy drugs so they can sell drugs, so they can confidently rap about selling drugs. How stupid is that? Hustlers, we took risks in order to be able to get to a point in our lives where we could live free of risk and have, you know, a quality existence and give ourselves a upper hand, you know. That's how it started. That's how it started. When the men in my community and the women in my community, when they were set free, they didn't have any opportunities to go and get a higher education or learn business or go and get a loan to start a business that they might already have an idea for. For the most part, they were just left with the underworld. That's how it came into being. So it was vice, it was prostitution, it was gambling, it was robbery, extortion, hits, And then people evolved from that. They started getting into narcotics. And it was the people who did things like opened up these grand ballrooms that became well known, you know, these clubs like that were pictured in American Gangster, you know, Small's Paradise and all that type of stuff. They didn't win the lotto. Where do you think that money came from? Mm-hmm. You know, there was a point in American Gangster where they showed, I think it was Joe Lewis that gotten some money from Frank Lucas to pay some taxes, whatever. Yeah, that happened all the time. That happened all the time. The gangsters, when I was growing up, people didn't get put out of their house. People didn't go hungry. Their kids had Christmas. Their kids had school clothes at the beginning of the year. You know, that kind of thing. That's who took care of the neighborhood. The gangsters took care of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's how it was. Just like with my man Meech. We went out every day. And dude spent $20, $30, $40, $50,000, $100,000 in the club one night, bro. Every day. People were overwhelmed, bro. They were overwhelmed to seeing this. And they were beginning to make choices based on whatever that emotional impact was, on seeing how other people were enamored by that. And they're like, man, I want that.
Yeah.
I want that. I want them to love me like that.
Yeah, it's mad you say that, because a lot of what you're saying there boils down to the fact that the youths are dying. They're dying in your country, they're dying in this country, they're dying all over the world for the fact that they want that. And they're watching people that are making them think that they've got that. Like you said, we're watching these rappers. They're in their big videos, they got this, that, the third, and the young youths want to be that. So I want you to tell me, through all your years of knowing rappers up to the present day, give the youths 5 names that are real rappers that are living and breathing what they say in their tunes. So that they can know, listen, there is actually something real in that game.
Well, are we talking about living it now that they've been successful?
No, they was actually living it before they got there.
Okay.
Yeah. 5 big names that we can say at least they kept it real.
Wish I could.
You can't find 5.
Not for not knowing them all. I know them all. None of them were who they said they were. That's the bottom line. Was 50 hustling? Yeah, 50 was hustling. Was he a big time drug dealer? No. He was just like 20,000 other cats in his hood. I used to hustle in his hood. I used to hustle in Jamaica, Queens in the 80s.
Alright, what I'm
1,000
gonna
other
do,
kids. So 50
I'm
was selling drugs.
Some names.
Jay was hustling. Jay was hustling. I don't know.
Yeah, we Calvin Smash.
I don't know about having the Jay. He was not heavy-handed.
No,
he's not heavy-handed. I was a guy that did the. When you say the block on Smash, let me make sure I understand what you mean by that. What do you mean by that?
I mean, he had his whole piece where he was living. Because from the lyrics we've had over the years, that Marcy was his. Nah?
No, Marcy, no. He's from Marcy.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't carrying no weight in Marcy, no.
Nah.
Did he ever claim that he was carrying weight in Marcy?
Well, I swear I've heard that in a lot of them bars.
I don't know. I personally can't think of any particular lyric that I've heard him claim that he was some kind of boss in Marcy.
I'm from a generation that we came up off American rap. So I'm going to throw some names at you now that people are most will be sitting in jail, they're under the ground in their grave, or they've had a hard life through the influence of what they believed from these rappers. So I'm going to ask you if these rappers were real to anything. We've got DMX, Tell us about DMX. Tell us about D Block. Tell us about Meek Mills. Tell us about ABs. We want to know ABs, Darklow from Philly, Beanie Siegel, all these cats. We want to know, were they real to anything that we've believed in for the last 10 to 15 years?
Beans is, when he was really active and on his shit, Beans was really a little bully on the street. His mother was hardcore. I don't know that she's still with us or not, whatever. I haven't heard about her having passed, but you know, I used to be in Philly, and his mother was somebody that would bang at you. Okay, Beans is definitely about that. Beans didn't play no games. He'd give it to you. What
about ABs and Darklow? They're the ones from the Philly we now listen to.
I had no idea who they are.
No?
I have no idea who they are.
Let's go back to DMX.
Earl?
Yeah.
Earl has always been a crazy little, wild little motherfucker. Earl and my stepbrother, Sean Gully, they used to run around together. That's how I know them.
Yeah.
They used to run around together, you know, sticking people up and stuff. They were kids, robbing people and shit like that. And you know, Earl has always been wild, man. Earl came from a really messed up background, you know what I mean? You know, the only family he really had to speak of is his grandmother.
Yeah.
And when she was gone, it was really like, you know, he was off, he was just screwed up, and then, you know, he obviously came up, and then that he screwed him up even more, and, you know, I mean, he never wanted to be DMX.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Exit Wounds premiere, did the New York one. He got on stage, performed, blew the crowd away. Crazy. 3 or 4 days later, we're in LA for the LA premiere. So I go up to the hotel. Buster comes through, rolls something crazy. We sit up there, we smoke up. They come back with the cars. So me and him was up on the balcony, whatever. We had the Bellagio in Beverly Hills. So we see, you know, he said, "Oh, yo, I want that one. It's convertible, convertible SL Benz, green joint." So we go downstairs. I'm smoked out of my mind, right? I mean, I'm zapped. I don't know what that shit was that Buster came through with, but he glazed the wrap and he rolled it in with some honey, and I did not know that the honey was also THC honey. Man, it was like, you ever tried to pull a cat off of a couch? That's what it was like. I was like, I'm not going out there. I'm not going out there. So anyway, they finally get me out the building, and we get the car. So, you know, we drop the top, I put on my seatbelt, and this dude, we go to the mall. This dude takes off, and everybody's trying to keep up with him. This dude, we're in LA in the middle of the afternoon. I don't know if you've ever been to LA, brother, but LA traffic in the middle of the afternoon is unrelenting, my dude. This dude is driving like a bat on fire. Like somebody just literally set his ass on fire, bro. He driving like a fucking maniac, man. Trying to get a rise out of me, I guess. Trying to get me to go, yo, chill. Nah, bro, not me. Go ahead, nigga, let's die. Let's go. He puts on that single from the Exit Wounds, and we flying. We get to the mall. All you smell is brakes and tires. Go inside. You know, we walking around. Naturally, big ass crowd. It's ridiculous. It's, you know, mayhem. He's the biggest rapper in the world at this point, literally. So we leave the mall, go back to the hotel, get dressed. Now we fly into the Jay Leno show. And we're following behind Joel Silver's assistant and Jay Leno's lawyer. Black guy, the lawyer, and the assistant's a little white girl. She's driving a Benz, a 300E Benz. Earl's the kind of guy that if you don't make it interesting, he'll just drive off. So we're following, I'm telling her, look, you have to drive, okay? He don't know where he's going. And if you don't, like, kind of make it competitive, he will just drive off and Jay Leno will never see him. Jay Leno, he'll blow him off. So we're going down Sunset Boulevard. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Traffic is crazy. We're flying. So she gets a few cars ahead of us. This dude gets on the wrong side of the street and goes against traffic on Sunset Boulevard doing about 55 miles an hour. A cop on a bike, motorcycle, sees us, goes, we got top down. Hey, pull over. Now we got a bottle of Hennessy, 1738, man, about this big, open in the car, and we drinking. And we smoking that Buster brought. And the guy pulls us over, pull over. He looks at me, he goes, you got a license? I said, nope. He said, oh. I said, we're going to jail then. And I got the blunt. So I'm on the passenger side. Blunt hanging out like this. So the cop comes up, he pulls in front, he starts walking towards us. He goes, do you know how fast you were going? And we look at each other. No. And we give me a license. And then the guy gets out, the lawyer gets out and says, hey, I'm Jay Leno's lawyer. And that's Joel Silver's assistant right there. We're on the way to Jay Leno's shop. And the cop goes, Joel Silver, okay, slow down, man. It's like, oh yeah, sorry. We go to pull off. He goes, yo, you threw that blunt away? I said, shit, nigga, I ain't even put it out, motherfucker. It's still blow. Yeah, we smoking. So we go flying to the Jay Leno show. We do Jay Leno. Jay's super cool, super cool. And then, now we have to go to the premiere. Big premiere. Steven Seagal, Isaiah Washington, everybody's there, man, you know. We can see the lights, you know, the big lights and all that going off down the block, way down the block. It's just me and him, we making our way down there. And we see Kim Whitley, actress, comedian Kim Whitley, walking her dog, just walking down the street. So, you know, yeah, what's up, Kim? He's like, oh, Kim. He jumps out the car and goes over to her, starts talking to her. So I get out the car, I go take a whiz, I come back to the car. I'm like, yo, Earl, man, come on, let's go. He's like, yo, let's not go. I said, what? He said, let's not go. I said, dude, what are you talking about? He said, man, let's go somewhere else. I said, my man, you're from Yonkers, from the hood. You got a movie premiere in LA down the block. Are you out your mind to not go to that? Are you out your fucking mind? Maybe get in this car, bro. Or you gonna pull up unconscious, my nigga. Alright? Get in this fucking car, let's go. And we go down there. And he put on his sunglasses and he put on his he never wanted none of this, bro. He just wanted to be the hottest thing on the block. He never wanted none of it. So he goes to the premiere, we go inside. We go in, all the way to the front, all the way to the corner, where we sit in the last two seats in the front. Exits right here. As soon as that movie was over, everybody's clapping. Come on. Grabs me, runs out the back door, jumps in the car. He goes, yo, how is it? I said, it was a shit thing. You a star? He said, I am. I said, yeah, you a star. He's like, oh shit. It tears off. And we went to some party with Janet Jackson, some dumb shit like that. Like, Earl is is a crazy motherfucker, man.
What do the Americans think about his comeback? Because obviously at the
They love
moment
him.
he's trying. Is
He's
it
the best.
something they can pull
Dude,
off?
he's the best, and they love him.
Yeah?
He's the best. He's the best, bro.
So the
At
Americans
his
are behind
time,
him and
he is
this.
the best. He is the best, man.
But still now.
Bro, they love him.
Yeah.
They love him. They love him. He gives it to you in a way most people don't allow themselves to give that much of themselves. It's too personal. But Earl don't hold nothing back. He gives it up. When French started, when I met French, it was around 2002 or 3, something like that, right? So my magazine, my first magazine, Don Diva, I was 3 years into it, and I would see French at different places. My magazine was very, very popular, and so he, all these young cats, they knew who I was. So he'd come up to me and he'd ask me questions and give me different ideas that he was working on and stuff like that. But he was just a local kid, Arab kid or whatever. And he wasn't a rapper or anything like that. He never expressed any interest in being a rapper or anything like that. He was really just more so enamored. It was apparent he was enamored with the lifestyle. So he would go to neighborhoods and he would video record different local neighborhood rappers, guys that didn't really even get out of their neighborhoods. And he would record this guy from 121st Street and in Lenox Avenue. Then he'd go over and he'd record a guy on 114th Street and 8th Avenue. And then he'd go and record another guy on 135th Street and 7th Avenue, right? And he would put all of these interviews or these performances, these little freestyle performances, on this one DVD. DVDs were relatively new at the time, and a lot of people, as close in proximity, those 3 blocks that I named, there's no more than 10 blocks between them, 10 city blocks between them. But these guys may or may not have ever heard of one another before, and probably never, if they did hear of one another, never came into contact with one another before. So what ended up happening was people in their respective neighborhoods would start to say, well, my guy is better than your guy over there. And it's like, oh yeah, well we think that our guy's better than your guy, whatever. So then French became like this conduit, this crossroads for these guys. I'm pointing at a picture of Max B, you guys can see it. But this guy can write his ass off. As fucking ignorant as Max ass is, boy, he got a gift.
What's your feelings on each situation?
I don't have
the fact that he's been sitting in there for so long.
Shit, I don't have one thing anybody will tell you about me. I don't have no feelings about nothing.
No.
I'm an intellectual. I don't have feelings about shit.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I'll say it again. What do you think on his situation?
Well, what they did was very stupid. Cost a man his life for nothing. He got nothing out of it. It's the kind of thing that people do all the time, and a lot of times nothing comes of it but a little lick. They come up with a few baubles, whatever, no big deal. A lot of these cats, these athletes, whatever, a lot of them are timid. They come from some, middle American kind of middle class, working class backgrounds, whatever. They're not exposed to, volatile situations and stuff like that. And a lot of times they'll just give it up. There'll be no resistance. But if a person is afraid, like they got some people who they feel like if a gun is produced, instantly they're going to die. So they go into fight or flight mode. They panic and things go left. They don't do, you go, all right, man, I got you. And don't run, don't move. And they run. So that, I said, don't move. You know what I mean? So, it was a dumb situation. A man lost his life. And that's, when you go to do something like that, it's probably far off in their minds that it's gonna happen, but they do know it can happen, that this can go all wrong and I can end up twisted. And that's what happened.
some other rappers that are well loved over here, and we want to know if their stories are real. We want to know about Biggie and Tupac. What do you know of them? What was your connection with both of them?
My only connection with Pac was through the individuals that he found himself around that he really didn't have no reason to be around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like real gangster types. He had no business being around them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All he was going to get was, you know, pressured. You know, I mean, he comes from a revolutionary background, not a gangster background. A revolutionary background. Not that gangsters can't be revolutionary, but revolutionary is what he comes from. And was he a genuine cat? He was definitely a genuine cat. He was genuine in the things he spoke about, passion and you know, his concern for his family. The way he was raised. He was raised with an awareness. He was you know, he was truly pro people, pro his people, period. All those things that he got into as far as like, you know, he was an artist, so that projection about gangsterism and, you know, being tough and all that, whatever, that wasn't who he was. That was not who he was. And pretty much that's why it worked out the way it worked out. You know, because, you know, when you don't know how to put behaviors into context and you just say, okay, a person behaved that way and this is the response they got. I want that response, so I'll behave that way. What they don't understand is the person that they're observing, their overall demeanor and movement establishes their role in the environment, the regard they receive, and what people will accept from them, what people expect from them. You can't do certain things, say certain things, and then not be committed to following up in whatever way is necessary if people respond disfavorably to whatever you've said or done. You know what I mean? He got into that thing in Atlanta with the two cops, popped the two cops, whatever. You know, people mistake that kind of behavior for being a certain type of person. Anybody could do something like that. Anybody could do something like that. A black nationalist mind will make them do that. I have every right to bear these arms and to protect myself. That's not a gangster concept, you know? That's a constitutional concept.
Now, Tretch is well known in this country for being original and supposed to be gangster.
Real nigga.
Yeah, well, let's get into a situation where Funk Master Flex made some comments on Tupac not long ago.
I remember that.
And my man Tretch involved himself in it because obviously him and Pac were boys.
That's his man.
But obviously now, Whack 100 got in the fold.
Whack is over.
Now, Whack said some disrespectful things to Tretch, including his mother, talking about his mother's a cum guzzler and all this. Now, over here, we got nothing but respect for Tretch. The way he dealt with that situation, he lost a lot of respect over here. Because after someone bringing your mum into things and telling you they want to meet you, and they'll meet you anywhere and do you something. Now, we expected Tretch to go all the way. He looked like he was going all the way.
What that mean?
Meaning he was going to meet him and do him something. We thought this was a serious beef. In the end, Tretch backed down by putting a post on Twitter saying that some of the officials had met up and it was all squashed. Now, obviously, you're in America, you're official with all these rappers. You know what's really going down. How should we look at Tretch after that situation? Because he lost a lot of fan base over it.
Well, I'm going to tell you this much. I would not advise any of your viewers to go up to Tretch and be like, yo man, you's a punk, whatever this and the other, because they won't get past yo man. They won't get past yo man. They won't.
So you tell us, why did he not deal with that situation the way that people expected?
That's interesting. Why didn't Tretch behave the way people expected? What are the people's expectations based on?
Well, they're expecting that Tretch is known, from what we know, like you say, we can't believe everything we see on TV or read, but from what we've seen from Tretch, he's a stand-up guy who don't play games.
He don't play games.
So how did this one end up the way it did?
You know, it's good to be tough, but it's better to be smart. You know?
I hear what you're saying, but can you be smart after someone's brought your mother into it and let the whole world see that?
What are we in the schoolyard? You talking about my mama? Listen, you know, I'm not a rapper. I don't have a rap career to protect, a brand to protect. I don't have to concern myself with whether or not some opportunity to participate in some type of rap related or entertainment related project in the future is going to be adversely impacted by my mishandling of a situation. So if someone is fool enough, stupid enough to antagonize me in that way, they're going to deal with the brunt. They're going to find out that my capacity for calamity is extreme. If they don't know, and they don't know nobody they should ask, I don't have those concerns. Tretch has those concerns. Tretch makes his money performing. Biggie was a good kid. He was just a big, I met him in the tunnel. Somebody we know in comedy juices. It's a big motherfucker, man. But he was just a big sweetheart of a guy. Big sweetheart of a guy. Funny, jovial, personable. Not a gangster, not even a street person. Just a kid who grew up in Brooklyn, you know, and grew up during a time where it was tricky. You had to know how to walk the line, because if you weren't a certain type of person, then you were food. You want to be food, you know. Some guys, to avoid that, to avoid being food, they adapt to humor. You know, some guys start, you know, become rappers. Some of them, you know, you just stay out the goddamn way. Come home, go in the house, stay in the house, go to work, come back. You know what I mean? I mean, he just was a kid in unfortunate circumstances. You know, sociologically. You know, he wasn't no gangster.
Yeah.
But he was a hell of a storyteller, like Pac. And they saw their environment through their artistry, and they portrayed that truth or that harshness in a very genuine way, where people, regular everyday people, could not put it into, again, its proper context. Like, this guy's rapping about this. This guy is not this. He's rapping about it. He's telling us about these things that he's seen or he's aware of or he knows about or whatever. But he says he's rapping about it. This is not who he is. If this is who he is, then this would be what he was doing. It would not be what he's rapping about. He'd be living it. The things he's saying are aspects of someone's actual everyday life, and they are not in a booth. They never go into a booth because they're too busy doing the things.
Yeah.
You know? So no, Biggie wasn't a gangster. Pac was not a gangster.
The D Block boys. Many a years, people in England have been listening to the three of them and believing them bars and living off of them bars.
Hustlers.
What's the truth of Styles P,
Hustlers.
Sheep Luch, and Jada
My
Kiss?
niggas. 3 motherfuckers I fuck with hard body. Genuine. Good heart. Good people. You know what I mean? Styles is like that dude is such a passionate and deep loving dude, you know what I mean? I mean, not that Kiss or Luch are not. Kiss and Luch are like regular dudes. Styles is a regular dude, but then some. Styles a warrior.
Do you know over here we class him as the hardest rapper to ever live? That's what he's classed as. What do you class him as in America?
I'm trying to think of who I could think. You mean hard in terms of lyrical?
Yeah, the lyrics, the hardest lyrics we've ever been
I
given.
guess he definitely up there with him.
Yeah.
He's definitely up there with them. Definitely up there with him. You know, they call him the Ghost for a reason.
Yeah.
They call him the Ghost for a reason. A lot of people whose shit you've heard, like, oh, that's hard. They go hard. They got some venom. They ain't got nothing in them. That's Styles' pen. Styles' Pinero. You know? That's Styles.
Okay.
Styles has written a lot of shit for a lot of people. Styles is a warrior though, like on a real side. Like you can go at Styles, you're gonna bleed.
Yeah.
Like you really gonna bleed. For real, for real.
Your rap game is not perceived in the way that it was. How do you feel when people are looking from the outside and they're seeing people in dresses, seeing people in tight jeans, seeing people talk feminine, see women with fake asses? All this is the promotion from America now. How do you feel when you think that people are watching that and that's what they're taking?
I think it's a terrible thing that this has become the so-called representation of the culture, because it really isn't. That's the corporate manipulation. It's the corporations that are doing that, and this is my concept or theory as to why they're doing that. If you take something like, you can't duplicate Jay-Z or DMX or KRS-One or you can't duplicate those guys, right? Or Tretch. You can't duplicate these guys. And if you don't control the production of this content, they don't create anything. They promote, market, and profit off of, but they don't create it. So if you could figure out a way to diminish it, minimize it, you have control of all of the vehicles. You own the venues, you own the radio stations, you own the record labels, you own the distribution points, you own the marketing companies. So you can determine what people will see the most of, and you already know that when people, the most of what they see becomes what they expect, becomes what they want. So what if we did something that kind of neutralized rap in such a way where we could take anybody we wanted and put them in that place. Anybody we wanted. It didn't have to be somebody extraordinarily gifted or talented like a DMX or Jay-Z or Kendrick Lamar. It wouldn't have to be that. It could just be anybody we put out there. Now we don't have to be subject to somebody who we don't know what the hell they're going to do next. We can just put who we want out there. It's a product. They are a product. We will put that product out there the way we want it to be, where we feel comfortable with it, you know, where our Eurocentrism is appeased, you know, because you can tell by our architecture that we sure like naked little boys. We like naked little boys everywhere. Naked little boys on everything. That's what they like. And why shouldn't we have what we like? We control everything. Why should you try to keep corralling these wild, unpredictable heathens? If we create this as the thing, I mean, anytime that any of them is not acting the way we want, we just take them out and put somebody else in its place. They won't know the difference.
How do the Americans perceive the music over here? What
Over
do you
here,
see?
you
Yeah.
don't.
What do you, who would
There's
you
no
name,
awareness
if
of
I
it.
could give you a name, like who would you know out here in England, London, Britain?
Unfortunately,
Nobody.
I wouldn't know anybody. There's no promotion of that.
So we've
whatsoever.
got nothing over there that you can think of.
There's no impact over there. The only way I could see that somebody from over here would have a presence or there'd be an awareness over there would be if that person, like SAS, I asked you about SAS.
Yeah.
I asked you about SAS because Cam and Joel's, Jimmy, those are my little homies.
Yeah.
Those are my little homies. And they're the ones that exposed them to us over there.
So apart from SAS, there's no crews that you've ever heard of?
Nope. Not one.
Let's talk about The Wire. Obviously over here, it was big. All 5 seasons got a lot of play. We was unhappy when it finished. The word is that you've got some connection with The Wire. Tell us just how real The Wire was and what your connection with it was.
Well, one, it was the realest, and when I say real, I mean the most accurate depiction of the reality of what it was like to be in Baltimore in that time in the streets. I know that because I was in Baltimore in that time in the streets. I was there.
Yeah.
My connection with it, it's my Uncle Little Melvin's story. It's his life story. The cop who made it, Ed Burns, and David Simon, the investigative reporter from The Sun, covered the crime beat in Baltimore. They're the ones who made it. Little backstory, they're the ones who made The Corner. You familiar with The Corner?
Yeah.
Okay. The Corner
That was the other side.
Yeah, The Corner was about Monroe and Fayette. That was one of my blocks on the west side. That story is about my crew. And the little boy, he was a little boy then, his mother used to work for one of my lieutenants, the guy pictured in there, New York G. You read about all this in my autobiography. I remember when they came to the hood, Ed Burns and David Simon, to do the research on the show, for the miniseries. And New York G called me. New York G was bringing me about $25,000 a day off that block. And he called me, he said, yo, it's 2 white guys in the shooting gallery. I said, what are they doing? He said, they ain't getting high. I said, well, what are they doing? He said, they're in there talking to the dope fiends. I said, okay, you see any police around? Did y'all do a survey? Y'all went around the hood and all? He said, yeah, ain't no cops around, no cars around, they're not lined up nowhere. I said, okay. So he said, what do you want to do? I said, keep the eye on them and keep rolling. They can get to the money. What you talking about? Get the money. Watch them, get the money. They in the shooting gallery. You on the street. They can't see what the fuck you're doing from in there. And they obviously aren't interested in being clandestine because you see them. It's the ones you don't see that you need to be concerned about. And these guys, once they did, shout out to Charles Dutton, he's the producer. Once they did that, it gave them the opportunity to do The Wire. And I know that because they told me. Shout out Ed, Dave. And they used, Ed told me that they used my uncle's story as the basis for this thing because of his position in the overall underworld system in Baltimore, which was that he was the most powerful. This is me quoting Ed Burns, verbatim. Your uncle was the most powerful gangster in the history of Baltimore City. And I regret having arrested him. I said, why? He said, because as soon as I took him off the street, the murder rate, he was a homicide detective, Ed Burns. He'd become part of the first federal and state task force in Maryland. And that's how he got on to, the existence of this Kaiser Soze-like all-powerful black gangster that nobody would say his name. even in the tapes, they wouldn't say his name. They'd be like, Black, you know, him, he, the guy, right? He said, man, when I moved him from the streets, man, the homicide rate went through the roof. He was the control. Because he was hitting all the guys that were hitting all the kids, you know, the young guys that was getting the money. So if he said nothing's happening, then the bosses would all hold their material and then the streets would be dry. So he'd hit the narcotics on the street like a light switch. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. To put into context his influence, his degree of influence, when Martin Luther King was killed, Baltimore was one of the cities that rioted. And the police tried to quell the riots, didn't work. The police, they brought in the National Guard, right? And still, the people just kept rioting. So someone said, hey, I know somebody we should go talk to who might be able to help us. So they came and they went to see him, and they asked him, yo, could you help us stop this riot? And he was like, you know, sure, I'll do what I can. So they had the major of the National Guard, and he said, all right, here's a vest and a bullhorn. He said, no, give him the vest, give me the bullhorn. And he went out in the streets and he said, hey, look everybody, these people out here, they got these guns. They're about to give them the order to let them start shooting and killing our people, man. I want y'all to go home. We're gonna handle this a different way. And the riot stopped. So they were very thankful and appreciative of him for that. But then they went and they sat down and they thought to themselves, he just stopped the riot. If he could stop a riot, he could start a riot. We gotta get this nigga off the street. At the time, he was a very wealthy gambler. Cards, dice, pool, unbeatable, taught by the best. All of this is in his book, Fruit of a Forbidden Tree. He wasn't a drug dealer. Filthy rich, wasn't a drug dealer. So they sent this dirty cop to go and set him up. So he pulled him over on Pennsylvania, popular strip, back then, very, very popular strip. And the guy reached in his pocket, and he had all the accoutrements now of a big-time drug dealer, cars and all that kind of shit, whatever, but he wasn't a drug dealer. He reached in his pocket, and he pulls out 12 pills of heroin. So you mean to tell me you think that this big rich guy, this big drug dealer is walking around with 12 pills of heroin in his own pocket? Why? For what reason would he be doing that? So, you know, they went on about the process of railroading him. And they railroaded him. And his godfather was Meyer Lansky's partner, a guy named Salzberg, old Jewish dude, ran all of the gambling and numbers on the East Coast, all of it. And because of that connection, even though he got convicted, he got out in like a year or so later. But while he was in there, he's like, so you're gonna make me a drug dealer? Okay. I'm gonna be the biggest drug dealer you ever seen.
Real world Americans like yourself that have gone through things, what do they see us like over here when they hear about anything regards the road, regards gangs? What do they see? What do they think?
They think these motherfuckers listen to too much rap. That's exactly what we think.
So do they in any way take us serious for anything?
No.
Nah.
No. No. Not at all. They look at it like these are just a bunch of lost motherfuckers looking for something to do. They're looking for something to be a part of. You know what I mean? What if they'd never been exposed to so-called gangster rap? What if that had never happened? Just remove that influence, and what would you have? What would you have?
So what do you think when you hear about all the young kids that are dying on the roads? I'm talking about in Britain, like every week someone might get stabbed, shot.
I think it's fucking, it's disgusting and sad as shit because they think it's about something. Because they think they're a part of something that they're not a part of. They're not a part of it.
What do you think about the fact kids ain't coming off their blocks when you hear about this? Kids living on blocks and they don't want to walk across the road because they might meet up with someone who's on the other block. What does that come to? How does that apply? Like, what does Americans think when they hear that's going on in Britain?
Again, they don't hear that. Niggas don't know nothing about what's happening over here, bro.
Nah.
Nothing. There's no vehicle. There's no interest. There's no interest.
So what do you think the Bloods and the Crips influences had over here?
Oh man, it's the same as over there. It's trend bullshit. It's trend bullshit. Blood and Crip shit been going on in LA forever. Until the movie Colors came out with Sean Penn, motherfuckers had no idea it was happening. And even when they did see the movie, niggas was like, get the fuck out of here. Niggas ain't going through all that shit about no damn colors. Nigga, where the money at? Blue and red. Where the green at? It ain't about no money? Get the fuck out of here. Niggas wasn't paying that shit no attention. No attention, man. That shit had about 6 months of influence. Where niggas is like, yeah, man, we green on this block. Y'all blue on that block. They red on that block. They black on that block. These guys got pink. You know, and that lasted for about maybe 6 months, 7 months, and motherfuckers are like, ain't nobody getting no money. And in fact, there's a guy from your block, the blue block, who's got some work, and he's giving it to the guys over in the green block and the pink block, and they get money. So they're not participating in your little game or charade or pretense anymore. They're not participating. They all getting money riding around the BMWs and shit. They don't give a fuck about each other. So niggas quickly got off of that shit. Like, get the fuck out of here, right? Then the breakdown from, you know, the heavy crack influence, and then combining that with the heavy hip hop hyperbolic influence. You know, that softened people's brains up, the young people's brains up to this whole gang thing. But it started with gangs like, you probably never heard of these people, but Cigar Mob, Decepticons, Transformers. You hear these names, right? Cigar Mob is from the cartoon. Transformers is from a cartoon, obviously. Decepticons from a cartoon. So who you think is being influenced by? These are kids. These are just kids with no interests, no programs, nothing to draw their attention and their energy towards. So they have nothing else better to do, bro. Nothing else better to do. So when these super cliques of a bunch of punk ass kids, it's just a bunch of soft ass kids who had nothing. So 30 of them will go out and you know, rob one guy for his coat and his sneakers. Now who gets it? Who gets that? Who gets the coat and sneakers? 30 of y'all. Who will get the coat and sneakers?
It's a madness.
But because that was happening, now you got kids who are afraid to go anywhere, afraid to leave their block. So when my little homie, He's locked up in Rikers Island, OG Mac, and he's telling niggas about the Blood Nation and what the Blood Nation is about, and you know how the Blood Nation will protect you, and you know you'll be safe with the Blood Nation and all that. Motherfuckers is like, oh hell yeah, I'm tired of getting robbed and picked on and beat up, whatever. And they become part of it. Which is how the organization started in the first fucking place. That's how the Bloods and the Crips started in the first place.
So as regards in what we hear over here and what we see in the media, in your words, what are the gangs like now, this present time in America? What is going on over there?
Realistically, nothing, man. They're not moving as a collective. You know, without leadership, you have nothing. You have nothing. You got anarchy. You know, you add drug addiction and drug abuse to it, then you start developing psychosis. You start people having chemical imbalances and all type of shit. You know, then you got real anarchy. You got what the fuck is going on out in Chicago, what's going on in Baton Rouge. You know, just mindlessness, mindless desperation, hopelessness, you know, manifesting itself in all types of anxiety and, you know, manic depression and, you know, fight or flight behavior, you know.
Over here we had the Bloods, and then we had the phrase sex, money, murder. Now what do you know about that? What do you know about that phrase there? Where did that stem from?
Sex, money, murder, huh? You got that? Sex, money, murder was my crew.
Yeah.
Sex, money, murder was originally a get money crew.
Yeah.
We're no gang. We was about getting money. People can read that true, actual, factual story from a first-hand perspective in Old Gangsters and Young Guns, which is my fifth book.
Yeah.
Remember I mentioned my man OG Mac.
Yeah.
All right. Pistol Pete, my little homie, who is now doing 3 life sentences in ADX, which is the what the place they call hell on earth. It's a federal prison, and it's built from the ground down, and the people in there, like the Unabomber, Larry Hoover, Jeff Ford, John Gotti before he died, like the worst of the worst, you know, the guy who bombed the World Trade Center the first time, that kind of people they have in there, right? Pete met OG Mac on Rikers Island when he was sitting in there dealing with a murder charge, and OG Mac saw Pete's, you know, obvious leadership skills, and he was like, "Yo, man, I want you to join the Bloods." And Pete said, "Well, I can't join, you know, nothing, but you know, if I could start my own, you know, my own set, then I'd be willing to represent the Blood Nation." So he did. Sex, money, murder. We already existed. We were actually incorporated. We had a leasing company, SM&M, right? And Pete brought that gang thing to it. None of us participated in the gang stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Pete was the youngest. None of us participated in that gang shit. And Pete didn't give a fuck about the gang shit. He just knew he could leverage the power. He could leverage the following, right? So we were already notorious. We already were known. We didn't play no fucking games. It was already known about us. Like, that was not a secret. When he brought that blood thing to it, it took it to a whole other level because of the things that the sex, money, murder clique was already doing. The cars and the money and all that other shit, you know, the violence and all that shit. Like, so people were enamored with that. You know, people are always looking for their personal Jesus. They're looking for a superhero to follow. So they were enamored with that. And that's what drew them to the blood aspect of the sex, money, murder shit. Most people don't even know this. They don't even know that sex, money, murder existed way before blood elements were introduced to it at all. They have no idea that. And they represent sex, money, and murder and, you know, Pistol Pete, and they never met my man in their life, and they better hope they never do. Seriously, but I hope they never do, because that means you would have to be an ADX. And you don't want to be an ADX locked in your concrete cell with a concrete desk and a concrete bench and a concrete bunk for 23 hours a day when they wheel the shower to your door. You wheel it to your door and you step out of your cell into the shower. 3 minutes, 2 minutes to take a damn shower, and then back into your cell. And you come out of your cell maybe 1 hour a day into a cage about the width of this. And you're reading your letters, and in his case, he can only receive and send letters to people with his last name, which is his mother and his son, not even his father, because his father recently came home, the original Pistol Pete, who is down with Murder Inc., which is Nicky's crew, Nicky Barnes' crew. And he can't communicate with him because he is a convicted felon who will probably be on parole for the rest of his life. So he can't communicate with his son. So his son may as well be dead to him. He can't write him or nothing. And you don't read your letters. Your letters are put on a screen underneath a camera, and you look at it on a black and white screen in your room. And you read your letter like that. The only person who can visit him is his mother and his son. And the shit is in Colorado. And they're in the Bronx, in South Bronx, or North Bronx. Like, yeah, it's real sexy, real sexy. So y'all keep on rocking with that. You know how many motherfuckers have died in America behind that sex, money, murder shit, bro? That was never the intent. That was never even Pete's intent, you know? I mean, we were all violent, bro, you know? But that was never Pete's intent, bro. That was never his intent. All these people to be killing each other under that. Yeah. Killing their own. Killing your own. Where y'all at with all these cops that are being acquitted for killing unarmed brothers and sisters? Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Y'all got so much murder in your heart? So when the courts let these motherfuckers go, how come you're not going and exacting your own justice? How is it so easy for you to kill somebody who lives in the same neighborhood under the same conditions, probably went to the same school as you, probably knew him as a kid? It's so easy for you to kill them, but you let some small group of individuals just slaughter your own. I don't get that. Stop acting like you're something you're not. Deal with the truth. The truth is that you are full of fear and anger and confusion. You're not gangster at all. You're not tough at all. Without a pistol, most of you motherfuckers can't do nothing. That's 99% of you can't hold your own. You can't take a punch, and you damn sure can't give one. Fact. Stop. You're wasting your lives. You're wasting your time. You're destroying yourself. Stop making excuses about, oh, this is what it is and this is what we do. Stop. You're lying to yourself. And time will tell it, man. Time will tell it. Stop, man. Stop it with the sex, money, murder shit, man. If y'all really care about Pete, man, stop. Because as long as y'all are doing that, they will not give him a fucking break. He can't be moved anywhere because all they say is he got influence. He got too much influence. He got too much influence. He can't get a break. He has to spend the rest of his life in misery because sex, money, murder is attached to so many deaths and so much violence. And you're talking about word to Pete and all this. You don't know him, man. You don't know him. You never met him before in your life, man. Stop looking for your father and your savior in this man. You do not know him.